it for all our edible stuff.
Yeah.
We done all these beds a couple of years ago, but I guess they always need like year-on work and whatnot. We're on quite heavy clay here, where there's basically minimal to no topsoil was there, so it's taken a bit of time to kind of get it to a state where we can grow.
Yeah.
But we've seen the changes over the years, especially like again going back to the weather, where before when it would rain, this would just, I mean if it's heavy rain like this, would just flood completely and stay like that for a while. Whereas now, like you can see some heavy rain and you'll go out and see some puddles, but the next day they're already in the ground. Whereas like years ago, that wouldn't be the case. It would just be like ponds all over the farm.
So how just by growing stuff on that, or what have you done to help that happen?
Yeah, we put tarps down to get off the grass, and it's just cardboard down, and then compost and wood chip. But I guess over time,
back into the soil.
Yeah. So the more carbon you have in the ground, the more water it can hold.
Right.
So our soil had like really low organic matter count. I can't really remember what the number was, but it was like really, really low. Which then means like its water holding capacity, although like clay is really good at that, it's not as good as it could be. Because if we put more carbon in, that attracts water. And I think that's kind of what's been like I guess what's happened is that by putting on the compost, by putting on the wood chip in particular, because it's like bulky as well, that's been really good at kind of absorbing more of that water, and then just having more living root in the ground. Obviously we've cleared a lot of this stuff now because we're like putting new things in, but the more living root you have, the more they'll drink it up and hold water in as well. And then I guess like trees that we've put in and stuff, that kind of like divide up our blocks are also helping. So yeah, there's a few bits.
How many varieties of edible flowers roughly do you reckon you could do this year? Lots.
How many? I think we've actually whittled down this down quite a bit.
It probably started off more at the start.
I
don't know, I might be plucking a number out my arse, but head. Maybe only like 30 or something.
I think 30 sounds about right.
That's
and then
quite a lot.
I guess we've
I mean it was a lot more than that when we started.
I guess we've kind of almost grown everything that we could that's edible. And then we've, just because something's edible doesn't mean it's actually edible. Like some of it was pretty rank.
I mean I guess like we kind of like to be the judges of it, if that makes sense. Whereas like we'll grow some stuff and if we eat it and it tastes horrible, we can't really then say, oh, buy this, stick it on your cakes or whatever, and it'll be fine, because it's like no, it's not fine.
It's quite grim actually. But yeah, I guess we've kind of like whittled down what we're doing, but maybe more varieties of the same things. Like things like cornflower, we've got like 7 different varieties of it. Calendula, there's like 8 different varieties. Just to have like lots of different colours, I think is more what we're going for, of like a lot of the same things but just different colour palettes, and then growing a lot more of it to make sure that we have it throughout the whole season. I mean that also, like I guess on like a business front, it's kind of if you grow loads of stuff, you're not going to have as much of it, so when it comes to orders and stuff like repetitive orders, you don't really want to be in a position where someone says, oh, can we get this? Yeah, that's fine, next week can we get it again? No, we don't have it. So if you reduce how much if you reduce the amount, you can increase the quantity of like the smaller numbers.
Be more consistent. And like anything, consistency is important, isn't it?
It's just making sure we always have something.
It's also learning what customers like as well, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the year, you can look at your numbers and be like, hey, we've sold X amount of this and so on. Whereas on something else, it's like, oh, we haven't sold much of this, but it's still eaten up, so much space. It's not worth doing as well. So it's kind of just like a continuous learning. It's also like how well something does as well, isn't it? Sometimes we'll give things a go and it doesn't work. Try again, doesn't work. And it's like, oh, you know what?
It's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, we've got that at the moment at the patch down there, like sages and rosemaries, and it's always a bit of a risk growing those on a bog, essentially. And I think we've tried for 3 years now. Each year they've died. We thought, right, it's going to be like this year's going to be the year. They've all died, so I think sometimes it's like, right, we've tried, it's not going to work. So.
Well, it kind of goes back to like when we first came here. I guess being like very new to all this, was a little bit let's try and do everything.
Yeah.
And then still like growing too many different things, and it's just been spread out too thinly, whereas like as the years gone, it's just a constant, I mean, kind of just said it, like whistling down process, and also just finding what we enjoy growing as well, which I think we're both more like in tune with on the flowers, aren't we?
Yeah.
So
primarily you do edible flowers, herbs,
yeah.
and is that it, or do you do one?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to try start doing some cut flowers this year as well. I mean, I guess the good thing is like a lot of the edible flowers kind of also fall into cut flower territory as well. So you're not really doubling up on the work. You just sell it to a different person.
Different market.
Different market. But like, I mean, like when we started here, we were growing veg. We grew quite a bit of veg last year, but we just like the enjoyment factor isn't there for us. Of growing it, like we like growing it for ourselves and like unusual things, but doing it commercially is just a bit different. It just hasn't like been kind of what we've enjoyed, so we've kind of decided to just call it a day with that this year and just grow some for ourselves more, and then just really go in for the flowers. I think a lot of it is like the flowers and like wildlife. Like there is just so much wildlife here in 3 years, and it's because of the flowers. So it just, for us, I think that gives us a lot of joy. So it just makes sense just to keep following that of just like, let's just keep producing more food for wildlife because they need it. So
because when you first came here, it was just an empty field, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a big field of grass.
Yeah, that's about like 3 years ago now, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's been a lot of work since then, and a lot of learning.
But yeah, I mean, like the wildlife is the main thing. Like we've got, what was it, like 15 different species of bees here now. We've got like much larger worm counts now. We've got loads of ladybirds, and we get. Yeah,
we have like a person who comes and does like ecological surveys here, so he's able to actually just, because obviously for us it's like a bee's a bee, if that makes sense. We can look at one, but we're not going to know. We can't spot the little differences between them. Whereas like he's come down and just comes over with his report. It's like, I've seen this, and this, which is
like
really good.
riled up about it. But like it's amazing, and it's because of the flowers. So
That's interesting. Isn't it?
And also, I guess like the worm count is like a sign of like the soil
better quality
improving. Because like they would take like dig out I guess like a cube of like I guess the clay before and just look at it and then just be like, oh, there's nothing in here. Whereas they came like last year and it was just like full of loads of different worms as well, which was good. So like it's kind of like good signs that, I mean, it's easy just to say you're doing like the right thing and stuff, but it's good to have like evidence to back it up, which is what he provides.
It's all like going in the right direction, which like sometimes it can feel like it's not when like we're getting battered by the wind, battered by the rain, like it's super cold, you just watch like things dying constantly. Like it's sometimes a bit hard to be like, oh, is this working? But then like you see like the numbers and like someone puts it all together and you're like, okay, like small changes are happening, which is good. So it's all getting there.
So actually this is when we said we're not doing veg, we still obviously want to do veg for ourselves. So we can't take credit for this work because we have like a volunteer who comes, his name's Jim, and he likes doing like project stuff here, so he wanted to make a veg garden for us and for himself as well. So he's basically just done all this in about 2 days or something. So
it was just a like really wet flooded patch, which he's just made into this.
But it would, like we said, do something a bit more aesthetically pleasing, because if it's just for us, we don't need it to be like straight lines and super duper productive. If it's just for us, like it's nice to have something that looks a bit pretty as well. But this is our propagation tunnel that we're going to go into, so where everything starts off.
It's very slippery in here because the water's just been coming down into this. So just be careful.
So I guess like where we're still getting cold evenings at the moment, we cover everything up with a bit of fleece just to.
We haven't actually got around to taking off this morning.
So
we're just going to quickly do it now.
No, sure.
But in here, this is I guess where we've got a lot of our plants for this season. Starting, we've got a lot more that we need to start sowing over the next kind of few weeks. or I guess this week really. But we've got like all our dahlias here. Every year I tell myself, oh, I'm only going to grow a few more dahlias, and every year it doubles by about, well, quite a lot. So we started off with 40. Last year I think we did 100, and this year we're going to do 500.
Wow, okay, so significant.
Ever so slightly obsessive with them.
Yes.
But they're great, like chefs really like them, they like really good for like the petals and stuff.
Yeah.
And they dry really well. Something that we're going to do this year is more like dried flowers.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of realised our season's really short here, so we wiped out in kind of like the first week of October last year.
Yeah.
So we had an early frost on like September the 29th, which is 6 weeks earlier than like we would usually have for a frost. So that just like damaged loads of our plants and everything just started dying down.
Yeah.
And then we've also got a really late start, so we haven't really been like harvesting much. We've been able to grow much for nearly 6 months now. So that seems to be, and then really we're not going to have many flowers until I think like May. So I think a lot of what we're now thinking is just trying to reserve as much, which is partly why we've gone for like more volume of the same things, just in different colours, so then we can hopefully during the winter have things to like sell, like dried cornflowers, dried calendulas. We trialled it this year and they did really well. They all sold out.
So you know there's a market for them.
Yeah, and I think like,
who do they primarily go to? Chefs or cake makers or
bit of both? This year mostly to chefs,
Yeah.
because we sold them through shrubs, so they took loads of them and then took them out to places for us.
Okay.
And then, but we've got like our own kind of like online website as well.
Yeah.
But we didn't push that as much just because we ended up just selling out quite quickly through shrub, which was great.
So you know the market's there, which is great.
Yeah, and it means that we can use returnable tins, whereas like the fresh stuff we have to use plastic punnets. Like there's no way around it. So like in terms of like the sustainability angle as well, we can use materials that are a bit like better for the planet. Like aluminium tins. Aluminium's like forever recyclable. It's one of the like best metals for recycling as well. It doesn't take a lot of energy to kind of remold it into something else.
Okay.
So yeah, in that sense it means that we're not like we can start trying to reduce some of the like plastic that we're using.
So when would you sort of start planting this stuff?
So these dahlias, they won't go out until the end of May.
Yeah.
So they'll sit in these pots for the next kind of month, and then they'll go into a bigger pot. So those are like dahlia tubers. These ones are grown from seed. We lost a lot of our tubers this year because we hadn't covered them properly. Which I think almost everyone lost their dahlia tubers this season because it was so cold in storage. And then we've got things like lovage over there. So once those are kind of decent sized plug plants, they'll start heading out. We've got fennels. So we grow a lot of fennel for like the fronds. We've got new batches of bronze fennel over there. Tons of calendula. And then things on this side are stuff like yarrows, cornflowers, cosmos, there's chives, lettuces. So a bit of a mix of stuff really. It's quite a few things, but a lot of it won't head out until our last frost, which is due to be around like the 20th of May. So a lot of things are like tender, whereas stuff like cornflower, it's a hardy annual, so we're just waiting for them to get a bit bigger. Then they'll go sit outside, harden off, and then they'll go into the ground in probably like the next kind of 3 weeks, give us a bit of space to then start a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of, this space is always a bit of a juggling act of just trying to get things out as quickly as possible, or just get them sat out on the benches. So we've got like some benches out there with cornflowers that are getting used to being battered by the wind, and what life will be like here.
Yeah, no, sure.